Hello and welcome back to the Self-Actualization in the Age of Crisis chapter summary series. I'm your host, Ron Rivers, and today we're going to be reviewing Chapter 3, Security and Soldier, subsection Military Industry. So we cannot have a conversation about war, violence, and human suffering without a special focus on the military-industrial complex. For-profit weapons manufacturers who rely on perpetual destruction and violence to keep profits flowing. They've infiltrated governments around the world and have a very significant interest in keeping us in a state of perpetual war so as to generate capital for shareholders. Now, in the United States, we're really subject to the persistent propaganda of fear, of anxiety about the need for war for our collective safety and well-being. The reality of our circumstances is that the United States are the bad guys. The United States controls about 750 military bases in over 80 countries, and we spend more annually on our military and manufacturing in weapons than the next 10 countries combined. Now, the history of military industry is no better. There is presently a revolving door between high-ranking military officials and weapons manufacturers. So they often hire military individuals to go sell weapons back to the military. And there's a long history of lobbying for war in order to extract resources. The one for rubber trees, for manufacturing, oil fields by an energy company, or just a surplus of missile stock that we have to get rid of in order to make more, to sell more. All of these are leveraged as a means to lobby Congress to be more aggressive to our international human beings. Now, it should be noted that the weapons we sell to our allies often end up in the hands of our enemies through corruption, abandonment, or theft. Consider also our government's involvement with private mercenary firms who are unbound to the rules of engagement typically dictating war and are more akin to well-armed pirates than they are soldiers. The present military-industrial complex is a system that is absolutely incompatible with self-actualization in the age of crisis and a global spiritual renaissance. Now, the book goes into great detail in all of these chapters about some blueprints of how it might look, but one of the most direct paths towards reducing for-profit violence in war is to socialize weapons manufacture, make it a public good. In the end of the day, the public would have to approve the sale and manufacture of weapons to a specific organization. There would be no profit incentives, no bottom line, no quarterly goals to be met, really dramatically reducing the lobbying that goes into the making of weapons. And it's supported by the U.S. Constitution. In Article 1, Section 8, it very clearly outlines that Congress has the power to essentially nationalize any weapons manufacturer for whatever reason in relation to national safety. Now, in the face of the age of crisis, I think it's pretty easy to argue that launching a ton of missiles is bad for the environment, bad for humanity, and doing nothing to progress our vision and values towards a more systemically actualized society. We could leverage corporate modules, as we've explored throughout these summary series, and inject them into weapons manufacturers to specifically classify weapons as a public good. And that's important because most weapons manufacturers are not just weapons manufacturers. So we want to be able to segment out the weapons specifically in order to really laser our focus on reducing the military-industrial complex's power in the world. I want to emphasize from the start that there is no end game for the military-industrial complex. It's just perpetual war. To that end, as self-actualizers, we must refuse to participate in these institutions and commit to their deconstruction. We seek a global movement towards a bigger humanity. And in doing so, we have to reject some of our most deeply held dogmas around the purpose and intention of the military.